Hey everybody, this is Larry the Cable Guy. Check this out. So I'm in my truck driving with my buddy, and we was heading up to the men's warehouse to fart in the suits, and he's listening to his phone, and I said, that sounds like Hermie Sadler. He said, it is Hermie Sadler. He's got a podcast called Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I said, Sadler and the Senator? He said, yeah, that's his good buddy, Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley. I said, well, what in the world? He didn't know this. I said, did you know that Hermie Sadler was voted one of the 50 best looking drivers in NASCAR? He said, I did not know that. I said, because it ain't true. You never know, though. He never takes off his helmet. But I know one thing. This show, Leaning Right, Turning Left, is good. So pull up a chair right there by your phone, get yourself a cold beer, and give a listen right here to this week's episode of Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I'll tell you what, I bet Michael Waltrip's even listening. He's always wanted to do something like that. Oh, Sadler, got another one over on Waltrip. Get her done.
I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right in Emporia.
I'm Hermie Sadler, and I'm turning left. Leaning right and turning left with Sadler and the Senator is on location at Hermie Sadler's Faux Show Bar and Grill, 916 West Atlantic Street, Emporia.
The beautiful downtown Emporia, huh?
Beautiful down. Look, watching the traffic go by.
And you know, we're not alone, and we've had a great lunch with your family, with BP Brown Porch, but we brought along our man purse again. He is the swear bear. He's the hilarity with vulgarity. Shep Moss. Hi, Shep.
How y'all doing today?
All the way back from, look, he came back from Myrtle Beach early.
Special.
Just to record this podcast.
Just to record a podcast with us. He's been
my
down there.
goodness.
You know, I mean, you can't hide money. He's down there playing off, you know, right in the middle of March. Got to go to Myrtle Beach.
Carrying heavy.
You know, he's heavy.
Yeah. He went to Myrtle Beach, from what he tells me, and never saw the beach. How does that happen if you're not 19 years old?
Well, tell
Yeah.
us.
It's called bar hopping.
So what'd you do?
We had some great seafood. We went to a place in Surf City called the Marsh Walk. Phenomenal place. It was really cool. Probably 25, 30 different restaurants right down on the bay there. And you just walk from bar to restaurant. Everybody had a different band. Really, really cool. I definitely would go back. Cool spot.
Never went
The
to the
Marsh
beach.
Walk.
Never saw the sand.
Never saw the sand. The only sand I saw was on a golf cart, which we were driving.
Did you play golf?
No.
And let's just go ahead and get
A
this
lot
out
of
there.
Miami Vices.
I bet.
Last Monday, March 13th, he missed the big fundraiser in Franklin.
He did. And if you listen to our last podcast, we went all over that and tried to see if there was justification for him missing it. I didn't hear
Zero.
any. None.
And then this past Friday night, because he had to go to Myrtle Beach, he missed the monthly guns and
Boobies.
You name your dinner
Titties. Well, I did.
Here
but
he
it
goes.
was me.
Here he goes again.
$25.
Our swear bear.
That's the name of the group chat for the dinner club. Guns and
Boobies.
yeah. So he missed that event Friday night because he had to go to. So I'm just not quite sure where we stand with him right now.
Right.
Senator.
In fact, he walked out on last week's podcast halfway through the show.
To get
Right.
to Myrtle Beach.
He said priorities, and our names were not included on that list.
Do you think we should be potentially looking at new third wheels?
Well, so I got to look down the list of your friends, and that would be, okay, Big Swede.
The big Swede, but he'll do it. He said he'll do it, but for a small fee.
And have we determined what that fee is? Because the fee for Shep is we have to put up with his bitching the whole time.
Yeah.
That we're not doing it right, or it's taking too long, or we started late.
Mm-hmm.
So Big Swede's more looking for some
The big
greenbacks.
Swede, yeah. Well, he's an option. Plug more could be an option.
That would be great, but I don't know what we'd get accomplished except listening to him and laughing. Now, I have somebody you can actually bring on here that I was sitting next to at lunch today and listened to him negotiate a property deal on his phone.
Was he talking loudly?
He was talking really loud, but he was giving back as good as it was getting. In fact, my favorite line was, "What do you want it for?" Of course, it's my business. I'm not selling to everybody. That's your dad, Big Herm.
He
Herman
was.
Sadler.
We had lunch next door at the truck stop. Very good.
Yes, it was.
And he got a phone call, and you know, at his age, He's not going to be told how loud he should or should not talk in a restaurant environment. And the phone rang, and he was talking very loudly. Apparently, somebody was inquiring about a piece of land,
10 acres,
10 acres, and he said, apparently, the person asked him what was he going to do with it, and then he said, "Well, what are you going to do with it?" And then he said something about, "I'm going to sell it to somebody who's not in the oil business." And then how he ended the conversation, you thought was the funniest part.
Yeah,
there was some. Seemed like a little bit of back and forth, but then how did he end the conversation?
He said, "I'm going to talk to you later."
How about that?
How about that? And that's how he finished.
I'm going to just talk to you later. How about that?
And hung up.
And
But I don't think he sold the land.
No, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, as a lawyer, I'm changing the way I negotiate things. So I'm going to follow.
I'm going to
his
just
lead.
talk to you later. How
But
about that?
I need to get one of those phones from like 1997.
The flip phone.
He has an old flip phone that he uses.
It looked like a flip BlackBerry, actually.
It might have been.
Angie, what you doing in here?
Oh, we have a
Come sit
guest
right here. We got to talk to you for a minute.
Angie Sadler.
What you want to do is you want to
beautiful
get
wife of Hermie.
Angie's insight
in
on
the
what
house.
she thinks about the shenanigans going on in my nomination contest.
That is a very interesting topic. Well, come on, Angie. Come on, sit down with us. Why don't you? That would be all right.
Angie, I've been advising Hermie to find proper legal representation on this because he hadn't done it yet.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm your lawyer. Seriously? Oh, man.
We need somebody who
I'm
specializes
gonna go to
in
Myrtle
political
Beach.
law.
I'm leaving right now for Myrtle Beach. Or I'm going to find that 10
tell you,
acres of land.
I'm going to just talk to you later. How about that? Okay.
Which you're used to getting, right?
Oh, not even maybe.
Yeah. So we're all back here. We're taping early in the week here. It's Monday. This will probably go out a little bit earlier, but it's Monday, the 20th of March. We got Shepper.
I like
is
how
here. We got
Hermie painted this picture that I just bitch, moan, and complain. What the listeners don't see and understand, the logistics nightmare behind the scenes to get this podcast taped and what we have to put up with and tolerate, and the 38 smoke breaks and the Eastern Stanley time and the last second notifications of when we're going to tape.
And
I
what
mean,
we're going to talk about.
You know, when Brad Tuesday was running this show, it was a lot more organized. I can
Chad
tell
Monday.
you.
We miss Chad Monday and hope he's doing well. If he's still listening to the show, we think about him often, especially when we're setting this thing up and trying to get it right. And we haven't been able to put any drops on this board yet, but we're going to figure that out. But hope Chad Monday, aka Brad Tuesday, is doing well. But it's nice to know you were doing well. You were holding on to your diet plan. Looks like pretty well.
No,
in
this
Myrtle Beach.
weekend the diet was off. There was just a stupid amount of
in the truck stop
calories consumed.
restaurant. You're holding on to that diet is off still. I see that.
Well, I had a salad,
And a piece of chicken, fried chicken.
ate and mashed potatoes.
That was funny last week.
And string
he
beans.
was saying,
Well, you ate those two.
well, I've
fast
lost
beans too,
13 pounds and I haven't eaten fast food in 6 weeks, but I did eat a chicken sandwich from McDonald's.
I actually ordered a burger and they substituted.
I think
with
you
I just
said
thought
that.
about something. So, we are not currently doing the Hermes answering machine.
No.
Is that because we don't have Chad?
No, we have some backup. I've got to put it on there, but we've just been talking about so many different topics. I haven't gotten back to our same way that we haven't done a leaning right moment or a turning left moment. We
You
just
didn't
kind of merge
exactly
everything
answer my
together.
question. My question was, do we want to strongly consider another? I mean, Shep just appears, and he's got his own political career,
Right.
growing up in South Hill.
As councilman,
Not
of South
sure
Hill.
he's going to have enough time to spend with peons like us. So you mentioned the Big Swede. We got Plug Moore,
Your
David
dad.
Sneed,
David
and my dad.
Yeah. Angie even maybe, but that would be a short
a no.
podcast.
That's a no.
Justin would probably come do it with you. Y'all have lots to talk about.
Justin.
Smith,
Hey, that would be a good one.
he'd probably come do it with you.
But I don't know. I think I'd miss you there, Shep. I would.
Oh,
Your
you'd be
smart
just fine.
assiness,
You'd be just
our
fine.
little swear bear,
You never know.
Mr.
You
Hilarity
never know
with
how
vulgarity.
success is going to affect people. And with him,
Yeah.
I'm just not quite sure how it's.
You think he's getting a diva attitude? So he's had
I'm
some
trying to
successes,
figure
right?
out where the success came
He's
from.
he's just starting to be a little
How
bit
did-
extra.
How did success? Where did that word even come
One
from?
that you're here in our presence. and you're part of the podcast. You're our plus one.
Oh,
2, you've now winning motions as town councilman.
I've
in
won
South
one.
Hill.
I've won one motion.
Yeah, but that's
in
all it
2.5
takes.
years.
That's all it takes. All you got to do is light the candle,
Yeah.
send it into orbit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going on these great trips that I can't afford nor have the time to do. But you seem to have traveled all across the United States in the little bit of time that we're just trying to get a little old podcast
We
out.
went with some great friends that arranged for a condo for us to stay in through a mutual friend. It was a very inexpensive trip. My travel budget for this podcast covered it.
Oh, is
How about
right?
that?
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Well, we're back, and this week is a very important week. We've got a lot of things going on politically. We've got some races that are coming up this week. We've had a race in Atlanta with NASCAR. Got a lot to unpack here and talk about, but one of the first things I want to talk is let's start with what we talked about in the last podcast, which was, we're having the podcast was called Shindig and Shenanigans, and the
Shenanigans.
the shenanigans were plenty. In fact,
Shenanigans.
if you play a drinking game with last week's podcast and you drink every time we said the word shenanigans, you'd be drunk.
You'd be
You would be, there we go again. There, the swear bear. Here he goes. And so, but what we were talking about is just to bring everybody up to date, and especially if you're listening for the first time, we're happy to have you. Hope you give us a 5-star rating on all the platforms that you listen to us on. Go back through our library. We've got 56 shows that are killer. Every single one of them still timely. We've got great interviews. But what we've been talking about is Hermie Sadler, as you know or may not know, is running for the Republican nomination for the Senate, the state Senate in the 17th district. I'm in the 7th district, hopefully going to be reelected there. But you're running in a brand new district. And part of what you do is in the nominating process, determine who will be the Republican nominee and who will be the Democrat nominee. And the Republican Party at the local level legislative district committee chose a primary, which then the state Republican Party of Virginia apparatchik turned and switched after the order was entered and published by the State Board of Election into a convention that seemed to be only known to your opponent, who was putting it out there on social media and websites of time, place, and manner, when, where, what, why, how.
And don't forget during this process that somehow or another, we also have a situation where a known supporter of my opponent is now been the newly appointed chair of this somehow new Suffolk GOP unit
that they dissolved.
They dissolved and have started another one with only 4 people.
Yeah.
And they've put a guy named Steve Trent in there who, you don't have to believe me, you can look on VPAP and see that he donated to my opponent. He's somehow now allegedly in charge of the Suffolk GOP, which will have a major hand in designing the layout and the rules, et cetera, of this potential convention, which, by the way, as far as I know, as we're sitting here right now, even though my opponent has all this information on her website and Facebook, as far as I know, there's not been an order or a call for a convention sent from the LDC to the State Board of Elections.
I'm not shocked. I heard they were trying to get the coordination of that convention itself done by email, which is impossible to do under Robert's Rules of Orders and the rules of how you pick political processes and get them approved. You do
But look,
that
I've
by
had plenty of people tell me in last week,
call.
Don't worry about it. We're going to make sure it's fair.
Yeah. Well, at least we're going to have some judicial review because hot off the presses just filed, I believe, on Friday, which was just the last business day before we got back together here today at Faux Show. Dawn Jones, the chairman, who was the chairman of the Suffolk Committee, and then was appointed and elected as the chairman of the Republican Legislative District Committee for the 17th Senate District, has filed a lawsuit in the Circuit Court for the City of Richmond challenging what the State Board of Elections did. And so she has sued the State Board of Elections and Susan Beals, not for money. Everybody, when you talk about a lawsuit, they think that it's for money. She's actually asked for an emergency complaint for injunctive relief, which is using the equitable powers of the court to stop something that's been done. Injunction, as you know.
What is she saying the State Board of Elections did or did not do?
She is saying that the State Board of Election put out properly the order for a primary in the 17th Senate District race for the Republican Party, pursuant to her filing of a form pursuant to the law in the Code of Virginia, which says if that form has been properly submitted, then the State Board of Elections must put out an order for a primary. That was done. We talked about that in the prior podcast. And then they pulled it back based on outside pressures that they allege in this complaint. And a complaint is a civil piece of paper that lays out a cause of action, the injury, and why someone's entitled to relief. And then that State Board of Election, when they pulled it back, this new 17th Senate Legislative District Committee, which is under protest, run by the same guys you were talking about from Suffolk, came in and ordered or voted for a convention, even though they have not done time, place, manner. And what she's saying is that what the State Board of Elections and the Commissioner of the Department of Elections, Susan Beals, did in their official capacity was to injure her because they failed to perform their non-discretionary duties due to an alleged intra-party political dispute that defendants have no mandate or responsibility to consider or resolve. And what that means is the State Board of Elections doesn't get into and cannot get into intra-party squabbles. When they have a piece of paper from someone who has the apparent authority and actually has the authority as Dawn Jones has, and when she filed it properly and she was the chairman of the LDC for the 17th district, then SB could not get into the fight and call for a primary or a convention or get involved. So when they ordered the primary, that was the right thing to do. When they yanked it back because of Republican pressures at the top of that political pyramid, that was an improper thing to do, and they violated her rights. So this thing's probably on a fast track in the circuit court for the city of Richmond. It's going to go pretty fast because you got to make these determinations. I knew right now, and talking to you, I know you've been working on getting signatures and preparing for a primary. And now at the same time, having to do a secondary track, which is consider getting delegates to a convention.
Yeah.
And I will say, when I was driving back from Portsmouth, I had a big case this morning, kicked ass. It was awesome. What I was able to do was drive down Route 58 from Suffolk all the way to here to Emporia. And I stopped counting because I get distracted like a butterfly flies across the roof of my car and I forget what the number I was on, but it had to be at least 50 signs, either yard signs or 4 foot by 8 foot signs of Hermie Sadler for Virginia Senate, dotted on both sides of the road, eastbound and westbound. I was very impressed. I did not see not one single one of your opponents. And if that's any indication of the excitement your campaign's bringing, then I think that's a pretty good indicator. George Allen, your friend, my friend, says signs don't vote, but they encourage people to vote. And usually like a bumper sticker, he would say, or a sign is worth 5 or 10 people who see that getting interested in your campaign, coming out and voting. So signs may not vote, but right now they're kicking ass all up and down Route 58 here in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
So just listening to you talk, I got to be honest with you. I have not seen any information related to a lawsuit from Dawn Jones.
I've got it.
But you mentioned from potential political pressures from the top of the pyramid. What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, under nature of the action, which is usually a factual summary of allegations in a complaint, I'll just read it to you because it's the best way to do it. And pardon me for reading, but I'm going to do it here because it's important. Paragraph number 1 says, this is a case where the Department of Elections and its officials were prevented from performing their mandatory statutory duties by political intervention of the governor and others due to intra-party Republican politics. Specifically, the law clearly provides that the State Board of Elections shall order the holding of a primary election in any county, city, or other district of the Commonwealth in which it is notified pursuant to the Virginia Code that a primary is intended to be held, which of course we've talked about just a little while ago, which was properly done. In the case of the Republican Party's nomination for state Senate, such notice is to come from the Republican chair of the Legislative District Committee for the Senate district at issue. That would be Dawn Jones. It is undisputed that at all relevant times, she was the Republican chairman of that Legislative District Committee. She's never been kicked off. The question is, when Suffolk dissolved, did she lose any power in her vote? That is to say, did she hold that percentage of the weighted vote in the Legislative District Committee? This allegation is amazing right here. Paragraph number 4, upon information and belief, on March 10th, 2023, the governor and the attorney general directly or through their representatives strong-armed defendants, and that would be the State Board of Elections and Susan Beals, the defendants, strong-armed the defendants into reversing course on Senate District 17 primary. They did so due to an intra-party dispute regarding the contested nominating contest, as some party members have challenged Ms. Jones' actions under the Republican Party's procedural rules. While this challenge is incorrect, the court and defendants need not and should not delve into such matters, as no one has disputed Ms. Jones' status as the designated Senate District 17 LDC chair. And it says number 5, as a result of this improper interference, defendants quietly issued another list of primaries on the evening of Friday, March 10th. This list removed the Republican primary for Senate District 17. And this is the concluding paragraph, which I'll read right now. Paragraph 6, Virginia's election statutes do not set up defendants as arbiters of inter-party politics or require them to determine whether a chair's notice is in keeping with the party rules. Instead, the law is clear. If defendants receive notice from the designated chair requesting a primary, defendants are obligated to conduct that primary under Virginia Code Section 24.2-517. In other words, this is a mandatory ministerial duty that the statute requires the defendants to perform. If a party is concerned about a chair providing such notice improperly, it is the party's responsibility to control its own chairs to assess and prevent such actions before they happen, instead of attempting to deputize defendants, that is the State Board of Elections, Susan Beals as commissioner, as post hoc enforcers of the political party's internal rules. Because the law clearly requires defendants to hold a primary for Senate District 17 and does not allow political party members to force defendants into inter-party disputes or set defendants up as arbiters of what decisions by party officials are authorized or not authorized, then what they're seeking is mandamus relief, injunctive relief, which is where the court makes a judgment. Was the law followed by the legislative district chair, not whether Suffolk was properly dissolved or not. So what they're asking for is to enjoin the State Board of Elections from carrying out this change and instead reinstate the primary for SD 17, Senate District 17.
Can I take a swing at it?
Sure.
Sounds like to me that what she's saying is, as long as I am the district chair, the law says I shall declare, which she did, or file, which she did, and then the law says you shall order a primary.
That's exactly right. And the U is the State Board of Elections, which is, remember,
so the word in there
a
is
governmental
shall.
agency, a political subdivision that is not bound by a Democrat or Republican rule. It's supposed to be an independent agency, although the governor picks the members of the State Board of Elections, and whoever's in power. If it's a Democrat, then there's a one-person majority for the Democrats. And the same for our local elections boards. And if there's a Republican who's in the governor's mansion, then it is tilted one in favor, as it is now, for the Republicans.
So if the RVP,
You did this last time.
yes, if they're trying to win this case, then they've got to show that Dawn Jones is no longer the chairman of that local districting committee.
Well,
And that her filing is invalid because she had no authority to do so.
so as a lawyer, let me tell you right now, the style of the case is Dawn Jones in her personal capacity as a voter and official capacity as the chairman of the LDC of 17 against the Virginia Department of Elections, the State Board of Elections, those are the defendants, and Susan Beal in her official capacity as commissioner of the Department of Elections. RPV is not a named party.
Got you.
They would have to intervene, just like the candidates would have to intervene, like Hermie or his opponent would have to intervene and say, we are suffering an injury under Supreme Court Rule 3:14, and therefore we should be allowed to intervene. And then you have to ask by motion leave of the court to intervene as a party plaintiff or party defendant asserting a claim or defense therein. And then that gives the other side a right to respond to that intervention. So,
But it's a very tight window to do that.
Correct, because I'm sure this is going to be expedited because this has to be determined pretty quickly, and it's been assigned to a judge, I'm to understand, and you're going to have an expedited hearing before the end of the month, which means like in a week or two.
The most surprising thing, and I need to make sure that you, because I'm just listening to this as you're reading it for the first time, you mentioned the governor and the attorney general in that something that you read.
And that's something, it's called a complaint. Yeah.
Okay.
No, but you mentioned the governor.
Yeah, it's
And the
mentioned
Attorney
in the
General.
complaint. Yes.
So is Dawn Jones alleging that potentially the governor or somebody in his office and or the attorney general or somebody in his office may have been
contributed to this.
From what I've read, and I've read the whole thing, this is what they're saying, that someone from the governor's office, and when we talk about the governor, we're talking about an individual, but also everybody that works for him on the third floor of the Patrick Henry building. So, or a member of the party, so that could be anybody, this allegation went to the State Board of Elections or to Commissioner Beals. And I am also to understand that a letter from the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, Rich Anderson, was sent, maybe 2 letters, was sent to the commissioner. The commissioner, Susan Beals, good Republican, good person, very fair, she was good in, I think, Chesterfield. She ran the Board of Elections there for the local county and did a very good job. And so she got pressure from someone or all of them to rescind an order, a lawful order, in her capacity as the commissioner.
Which she should not, regardless of how this plays out, should not have been put in that position.
Correct. Yeah, it's got to be a horrible position for her to be put in. You know why you're there. You've been appointed by the chief executive of Virginia. And maybe they want something to be different, but that doesn't mean you just, collapse.
And Hermie, you're saying that your opponent's social media and website is announcing that was rescinded, but you as an official candidate has received no official notice from her of any change.
They pulled down the certification on the State Board of Elections website. Like they put primary up on Thursday, pulled it down like Friday at 5:00, pulled primary down, put it back up with convention.
Right.
But as far as I know, and this has been 10 days, 2 weeks later, there's been no official call from the LDC for convention sent to the State Board of Elections that I'm aware of. And to your second point, my opponent has posted the details of this alleged convention that apparently has not been made a call to the State Board of Elections yet. She somehow knows the date, the time, the location, and I assume probably the rules and everything else. And my campaign, we have not so much as received an official notice that the primary was pulled down. We have no explanation made to my campaign why it was taken down. And we certainly have no direct information on this alleged convention. And you would think that we would be getting the information the same time as the other candidate.
So that's why
I think you're deserving of it.
That's why the episode is called Shenanigans, because it stinks.
It's your swear bear again.
It stinks to high hell and back.
It's Shenanigans, and Shenanigans was appropriate during St. Patrick's Day when you were wearing your St. Patrick's Day.
I got a lot of compliments on that, by the way.
In Myrtle Beach.
A lot of compliments.
I saw some pictures. I was a little stunned by them. In fact, I think I have one right here. It's one I'll cherish forever that you sent to me. But yeah, I mean, this is just so unnecessary. What we're doing is we're picking process at the top level and not letting the legislative district chairman and the committee who represent the party regulars.
Let me scroll back to that picture.
Who represent the party regulars?
Shep, that is immaterial to this discussion. This is supposed to be a serious
discussion.
discussion.
should be picking the primary or convention. It shouldn't be the top of the food
But what
chain.
I'm saying is, you and I have talked really all year long about this process and how important this Senate race is potentially to the balance of power in the Senate in the Commonwealth of Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't they just let the people decide? I've said this 100 times. I just don't.
No, you got me.
Is there a chance potentially that the governor and or the attorney general would go to that kind of lengths to protect or help my opponent?
The potential is there. I don't know whether it's true or not. Certainly if these allegations, and remember they're factual allegations contained in a complaint. I haven't looked at the bottom that this is a verified complaint, which would have been a complaint sworn to by the complainant. And I don't see that here. So it's not as if an affidavit with the same substance to it. But yeah, the potential is, why are you controlling the process? Well, if you're controlling the process, then you're trying to control the outcome, correct? I mean, that's just the natural progress of things. If we're controlling the process of a race for our race team, we're trying to control the outcome to make Bobby Labonte or Ryan Newman give them the best chance to win. It doesn't guarantee it, but it puts one at an advantage to the other's disadvantage.
Kind of like the weight loss challenge.
Now they may exactly right now I have the advantage, but they can claim all they want. Suffolk disrespected the governor by not supporting the governor, which is a fallacy. Suffolk didn't show respect to the Speaker of the House of Delegates by voting to censure him because he wouldn't bring up Second Amendment protection bills or right to life protection bills and bring them to the floor for a vote. Again, that's just them with their opinion. I don't even think it has any effect on the political schematics, except for maybe taking somebody off, and maybe that's it. Maybe they see you as not somebody who's going to play along in their sandbox. It will be an independent thinker and think about his people first and his conservative principles over party. That's all a potential, and right now it's speculative. But I think what you're going to find in all of this, and probably a good FOIA letter that makes the State Board of Elections turn over any communications that it had with any third party, either email, text, or by letter. I think that's how you find out where these pressures may have come from and why they may have come in the manner that they did and for what purpose. But, these lawsuits tend to go very fast. As a lawyer who's participated in them before, they are fast-moving objects. Sometimes that doesn't give you, the opportunity to really get down into the facts. If you think about our Skill Games lawsuit, people tried it before and they tried to just go in and get an injunction without any evidence. You and I decided we're
run to the courthouse with your pants on fire.
Right.
Yeah.
We said we're going to play the long game. We're going to take it slow. We're going to develop evidence, and that was more successful. So there is risk that maybe Dawn Jones doesn't have an injury. Maybe she doesn't have standing. They'll probably be challenging that. Certainly, I think your campaign and your opponent's campaign could argue that you have standing because there is an injury. I mean, you've been spending money on both efforts, duplicating efforts, and that's not just a distraction. It also costs money, and so that's where standing comes from to sue, to seek redress for your injuries in a court of law. That's basically what courts of law are for. And in this, what they're asking for is the court to stop the withdrawal of the primary order, put it back in place because the law was followed by Dawn Jones and was followed initially by Susan Beals and also followed by the Virginia Department of Elections when they ordered the primary in the SD-17.
And just so you know, when they first voted initially back in December, although they never sent an order to the State Board of Elections or a call, they initially back in December voted for a convention.
Right.
And no problem. I went right along with it. My campaign, we hired Chris Shores to join my other, group. And we've been working towards a convention and signing up delegates, doing all that. Then some people within the LDC, as it was reported to me, had started to show some concern over their ability to hold a convention that was fair and equitable. And so they decided to potentially have another meeting to reconsider that nomination process.
Yeah.
That's what they did. They changed it to a primary. Okay. Now we start getting signatures, which we got 250 signatures in 2 days to get our name on the ballot. My concern is not what the process ends up being. My concern is all the people with their hand in the cookie jar trying to figure all this out. And to your point, my campaign is spending time, effort, and money on now dueling nomination process strategies. And you know better than I do, it's two completely different strategies.
Yeah.
How you plan for a convention that requires delegates and mass meetings and all these other things to a primary, which people just get up and go vote the day of the primary. So I just don't understand. It's got to be something that I've yet to figure out as to why everybody in potentially, based on this complaint, somebody as high as the governor's office or the AG's office or all that potentially being involved. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. It's embarrassing for the Republican Party at a time where we need to gain control of the Senate of Virginia and we've got people that are involved in this process that are putting themselves in front of the people and putting themselves in front of the party. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. The people are supposed to decide, and the party should unite, whether that's me or my opponent, should unite behind whoever wins the vote of the people to move forward to try to win that seat.
And because of redistricting, which we do every 10 years based on census, the Constitution of the United States makes us, our state constitution makes us that way. We apportion representation in the House of Delegates in the Senate based on populations. That's why over time, Northern Virginia has more state senators. We have 40 state senators. They have more state senators in a smaller geographic location than we do because our population has dissipated while theirs has grown. There's millions of people up in Northern Virginia. It takes a lot of geography and a lot of territory to get to that same number. So I was just pulling this up for interest. Currently under the new redistricting plan, of the 40 seats, there are 13 Republican incumbents. I'm one of them, even though mine's a new district, different shape, and every incumbent whose district is now up for re-election has a different shape to it. There are 15 Democrat incumbents. So that leaves 12 open seats. 12 open seats. And so really the future of Virginia is going to come down on how those 12 seats, first we got to pick up 2 to tie. And that's assuming that no Republican flips a Democrat, no Democrat flips a Republican. But just in simple math, we got to pick up 2 seats plus that leaving 10. We have to at least win 5 in a 2020 tie. When some Sears breaks the tie, Republicans are in charge of the Senate. So we got to pick up 7 seats. So the 17th for picking up 7 seats is critical, mission critical. And that's why it's really important that we should be fighting on message and getting out the vote and getting people energized rather than fighting ourselves. And you remember last week I told you that story from Don McKeechan. He said we would have paid a consultant $1 billion if he said we could create disunion and have the Republicans fighting each other and they'd never fight you. And he said, but we don't have to pay the $1 billion because we do it for free. This is what we're seeing right now. We're wasting a lot of time, resources, money, energy, and enthusiasm on something that the grassroots at the party committee level in each county, city, or town should have been able to determine for themselves how to hold a nominating process for somebody that's going to represent them potentially for the next decade. But we haven't done that. We'd rather fight at the top of the pyramid, the people that are down at the bottom of the pyramid in the grassroots.
And I've never really understood, and maybe you, because you know more about this whole process than I do, but my opponent that's running against me for this nomination is vacating a delegate seat that may very well likely go to the Democrats in this process as well. And we have a very slim majority in the House of Delegates, and maintaining that majority, at least to me, would be just as important as achieving a majority in the Senate. So
absolutely.
Why do you think, what would be the reason for her walking away from a delegate seat to run for a Senate seat? I guess she didn't know that anybody else would step up and try to run. Because I really think I get the feeling from their team that I'm just kind of an inconvenience. I'm in the way.
That there might have been a sense of entitlement to the seat.
I do.
Maybe so. And maybe that's what you're saying now.
But isn't the House of Delegates
Shenanigans
just as important as the Senate?
You would think. And that drops it from 52-48 to 51-48. And that puts it into play where an incumbent usually, in the Senate or the House elections, even when you have a switch, unless it's a landslide switch from Republican leaning voters to Democrat leaning voters, but even when that occurs, you can have the incumbent when the incumbent stands as kind of like a wall against someone who makes that challenge. We've seen where it doesn't always work, but think about it this way. In those 40 districts right now, we have 17 districts, including so far the 7th district, which I'm hopefully going to be the nominee of. It's not my district. It's the people's district, belongs to them, but I hope to be the nominee. I'm one of 17 that at this time are uncontested for a primary challenge with intra-party, that is Democrat or Republican. Many of those are in Fairfax, Northern Virginia. The ones that swing out in the tail of Southside and Southwest Virginia, those are the other ones that are not so contested, and then up through the valley. But when you look at the contested seats by a major party that's Republican or Democrat, you've got 23 seats that are up for re-election just in the House, in the Senate alone. I'm not even touching on the House figures right now. That's going to be a lot of money that's going to be spent trying to convince voters how they should vote and who's going to represent them. And I'm looking at all of these things. District 17, open Senate seat. And, right above you, you've got, Joe Morrissey has dropped down to run in that. In a contested seat, Frank Ruff's got a contested party. He's got somebody running against him, but most of these are right in this area, in the center and to the eastern shore of Virginia. Going to take a ton of money, and that's just to figure those out. They're going to figure out the control of the Senate for the next 2 years. We need to be spending our time and resources on those seats. 23 contested seats. That means Republican and Democrat are fighting each other, and some of those may be out of reach just because of geographic location in Northern Virginia, and they're still contested. But a lot of these, like I said, we need 7 seats to get a 2020 tie back in the Senate, because we're 22-18. We get back up to 20, and then if we split the 10 that are left, then we're in control for the next 2 years. So that means in control of committees, committee assignments, control what bills come through, what bills get to the floor, and what bills get out to the House. We need all our effort on that, because look at how it's been with the Democrats in charge, calling themselves the Brick Wall Caucus against Governor Youngkin's very good agenda. It's getting smoked right now, mostly, except for marijuana. It was not his, but the Democrat agenda wins even by blocking. And if we have that where we lose the House, then you could win the Senate 2020, put all that effort in. Let's say you win the 17th. We win all that. And if we lose the House by 1, well, the Speaker's a Democrat. The committees are controlled by Democrats. And any good piece of Youngkin's agenda that comes over from the Senate is going to be killed in the House, just like the Democrats did it in the Senate to good pieces of legislation that came from the House this year.
And I just don't understand why the party is getting involved in this, because put yourself in my shoes, Senator. And I've got huge mountains to climb. If I happen to win, if I were to win this nomination and go to the general and win this Senate 17th district seat, how am I supposed to feel towards the Republican Party, who by all accounts and measures that I know of has not been helpful in having a fair and transparent process?
I mean, I don't know how I can answer that. That seems to be a rhetorical question.
This is why
this is what we're fighting about, when we should be fighting about message and getting the voter, even if it's a primary. Still, independents are going to be looking at you. Maybe some Democrats are disaffected by what their Democrat candidate says, taking a good look at you so they know who you are. Instead, you're going to have this beating each other up before you ever get to something like that. And you're worried about no more than 1,000 people and what they think of you, rather than worried about the hundreds of thousands that live in this district.
This is why I think the average voter is just completely disenchanted with voting. And I do think, although I don't agree with the Democrat point of view, I think the Democrats are better at turning out the vote right now than the Republicans.
Well, yeah, they've learned how to game the system.
They want all of this intra-fighting. Of
course.
They want all of this controversy.
And meanwhile, they're putting in ballot boxes on street corners and now allowing early voting. And what we allowed to have happen when they were in control of the House and the Senate is now same-day registration voting. So the registrar doesn't even process to make sure that they're a citizen, that they live where they say they're supposed to live, that they, the checks and balances to make sure that only the people that are entitled to vote. That's all gone now. Same day registration voting in Virginia. Early voting, which, in this would start in May, before the June primary. I mean, they've been able to manipulate the election process, as they say, to make it easier. But what they're doing is they're making it easier for them. And we Republicans we always try to catch up. We don't know ballot harvesting, ballot collection, which they're masters at already. We're 2 years behind that. And we wonder why we lose. Well, that's just one of those reasons.
Just as an average everyday voter, it's just very, very frustrating. We're getting ready to spend all of this time, money, and effort and resources on lawsuits where we should be spending it to get the Republican Party's message out and encouraging people to vote, not tipping the scales or weighing the scales in favor of one candidate over another. It's a free and open process, and it should not be contaminated by some at the top trying to dictate what the outcome's going to be.
And just to tell you how much is at stake for Republicans and conservatives and those that live in Southside and Southwest Virginia that have less in terms of numbers of representatives in the House or Senate. I'm just clicking on vpap.org. It's a great resource for anyone who wants to get active and understand what's going on. They have a map here that demonstrates that 1 out of every 4 current member of the House of Delegates are retiring.
Why is that?
Or want to run for the Virginia Senate. That's 25 delegates, and it's going to go higher. Okay, there's going to be more than 25. That's just now. I mean, we've had today, John Cosgrove put in his retirement papers. Hate to lose this guy. Total great, awesome conservative. I mean, top of the spear, a true statesman and a guy who will fight. He's gone. Steve Newman gone. Great conservative statesman. We have people that are leaving higher up in the hierarchy in seniority gone, not coming back. I mean, you've got at least the top 8, top 9 of the
Why do you think?
seniority gone. I think redistricting makes it a little bit more of a challenge. You have incumbents running against incumbents. They have to raise more money. The districts are different. Some of the districts that incumbents are left in are not the district they're used to representing. So they're maybe lazy and don't want to go out and work the new territory. Maybe they don't have the effort or time. Some people have just gone tired.
The vote may have swung.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you some of the older senators and House of Delegate members, look at maybe what this new crop is going to come in. The Democrat friends on the Senate side have basically told me that the Democrats that replace the Democrats that are retiring, like the Dick Saslaws and the Janet Howells and perhaps the George Barkers, who he's running, or Dave Marsden, God forbid, because I'd rather have him than who's going to come in behind him, are more radical, more left, less respect for the institution and the office and the decorum. And so they just didn't want to be a part of what they see as a degrading, in some ways, on the left. On the right, we've lost institutional knowledge, but actually we have a stable of young people, younger senators, House members that are poised to lead and have all that education and institutional education and know how to do it. So I think there are many reasons. Some people are tired. Some people are scared. And some people just don't want to see what comes back. And this may be a new era in Virginia Commonwealth government. And that's why you need kind of like a Hermie Sadler or somebody who's going to fight, because you're going to be going up against lefties from Northern Virginia who are going to try to dictate how we should live our lives down here, that we should turn it all into solar farms. We should have drag shows for kids at the libraries. We should teach critical race theory. We should teach equity, not equal opportunity, but equity. See what they're doing in terms of grooming our kids in some ways in our public schools, teaching them sex education and things they don't need to know or learn right now. But that's because they think that's the new woke, liberal, progressive way that should be in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We're not Washington, D.C. We're not California. We need to fight back.
Senator, you're plugged in as good as anybody I know to this whole process. Have you heard in any other Senate or House race that's shaping up either with a nomination contest in June or a general election in November? Is there any other race that it's got the chatter or the talk or the corruption or the involvement from all these parties sticking their hand in here? Are you hearing this in any other nomination contest anywhere?
Not really. I've heard some talk about it, like there's a nomination contest out in the West that Rich Anderson might be getting himself involved in, but I've heard it, but my focus has been just trying to assist you any way I can, give you advice any way I can. And so I really don't know with any kind of certainty that I could discuss with any intelligence of what's going on, but not really. They could, I tell you what, they don't have the manpower in the RPV and the Republican Party of Virginia. They don't have the finances. They're basically broke. I mean, DPVA, which is Democrat Party of Virginia, sitting on millions of dollars, got a lot of power and authority. Right now, RPV, unfortunately, and geez, I might get, thrown out of the party for saying this. What they're really good for is a bulk mailer. They have a bulk mailing, code for the United States Postal Service. If you want to send your mailings, mass mailings to voters through it, get you a good discount. But otherwise, they're understaffed, undermanned, underfunded, and I don't think they have the resources. So picking this one is a little peculiar in the sense that this is one of those seats, those open seats we just talked about, that we really need to win victory for Republicans in 2023. So I don't know
if we go back to
this degree.
if we go back to the simple premise that we need, if you're on the Republican side, we need whoever our candidate is to win the general election. Why wouldn't we want to put the voters to the test in the primary to see who the people prefer?
Makes too much sense, doesn't it?
You know, it's a shame that you're going to have these lawsuits and court battles. This is also deters people from running from office.
Sure.
You know, I've asked Hermie, I asked him on the last podcast, why do you want to do this again? This is just, it's very, very disappointing. It really is.
Well, all these things that are popping up all fit into the same narrative of why I decided to run in the first place. It's just not supposed to be this
way.
difficult.
Yep. But it's got to be exhausting.
Well,
I mean,
now
this
it's
is
in the court
24/7.
And now it's
what you're
reached the
doing.
court system, and that's unfortunate too, because you're airing dirty laundry. I think in that court battle, you're going to find out who was pushing the buttons. I don't think that's going to be pretty. And if it is who they allege it is, I don't think that's going to be good for our governor if he has presidential aspirations. I don't think it's good to encourage. It's not helpful to encourage Republican voters to come out and vote, and for people that don't identify themselves as Republicans to vote for Republicans, because now it looks like we engage in the same kind of tomfoolery that the Democrats engage in, which makes us no better than them. You know, and we used to be better than them. I have said this when it came to Jan 6, and we've seen that was a farce too now. But, you know, Republicans will protest, but we're not going to get violent. We're not going to storm buildings. While Antifa and them bomb federal courthouses, they're the ones that demonstrate that they're not worthy of trust to the future of the United States of America or even to Virginia. When we start playing at their level, when we dip down to their level, or when we move to the center and afar from our conservative principles, we keep losing, because as soon as we do something bad, we have to be perfect all the time. I mean, they bomb a building, they call that a mostly peaceful protest, as cars are burning in the streets and businesses are shut down and crushed because of their bad policies or their protests. We do one thing, oh my God, we're overthrowing the country, which we now saw with the videotape. You know, the shaman guy was being escorted by 9 Capitol police officers at the Jan 6, rally, and they want to call that an insurrection. Give me a break. But whenever we do something bad, like if this comes out that we've done something bad, the Democrats are going to kill us for it, even though they do stuff like this and have done it more and longer. And that's my concern as well. We need to get back to the election, let the people decide, and let's not do this. But you know what this reminds me of? Donald Trump. I mean, look at what they're doing to Donald Trump right now. Have you seen that?
Oh,
Shep?
absolutely.
I mean, think about it this way. There's a federal prosecutor who his boss passed on a criminal case involving our former president, Donald Trump. And it emanated out of him paying $130,000 to Stormy Daniels. And the misdemeanor was, well, $130,000. He misappropriated that on his business forms. He said it was a legal fee when Cohen, the attorney, says it wasn't a legal fee. Michael Cohen, to Stormy Daniels, the former porn star.
But I guess technically it was a legal fee because Cohen is the one that paid.
Well,
so it's a reimbursement.
It's a reimbursement. So
they're trying to play a technicality.
But think about it this way. In Virginia, misdemeanors are 1 year from the date of the crime to bring the action. So this was what, back in 2015, 2016?
Yeah, I think on national, they got 2 years to do it.
2 years on the federal level. But then the feds, unlike Virginia, we don't have a statute of limitations on felonies. This federal prosecutor is trying to make it into a felony because what it was misappropriation of campaign donations, trying to get an advantage. They're saying that's what it was. Then he gets 5 years. But I'm not a math guy, but when you add 5 years to 2016, you're still short.
You're still out.
So it's out on the statute of limitations. Not only that, they're trying to arrest him in a public display and basing it on 2 of the people that, if I was a lawyer in this case, would not trust.
Cohen,
which is Michael Cohen, who served prison time. His lawyer has been invited to a grand jury to discuss why his client is not credible and lied. And then you've got Stormy Daniels, who, on a number of occasions, if I remember, just denied that it ever happened.
But Cohen's the best they got.
That's got to be their 2 witnesses. Who else would they have?
I'm saying, but he's the best.
He's the
How
best.
pitiful is that?
So why are they saying they're going to prosecute Trump?
Well,
because we're weaponizing. Now, let me answer that for you. We're weaponizing the justice system. We've politicized and weaponized so many parts of the branches of our government, including the FBI. Don't you think we're weaponizing now the justice system against somebody that we're afraid of, like Donald Trump?
Well, the Democrats feel like they can beat Trump. if he wins the nomination. So, to me, when you go over the points as you just so eloquently did, and the time frames, this really has expired. But if they can get Trump the nomination, they feel like this can smear and besmirch him from winning the general election. And I think that's got a lot to do with this.
But do you really think, guys, I mean, if you think about this, do you think this weakens Trump?
No, I think it will embolden him. And you know
Not
why?
emboldening him, but what about the people that are pissed off and say, aha?
Oh, it'll bump his ratings up
No
10,
question.
15%.
And you know why? Because Trump he will play offense with this. He won't cry the victim. He will play offense and go on the attack on this and tell people what is going on. That's just, I'm like, Hermie, it's going to bump his ratings tremendously.
Well, think about it this way. I mean, prosecutors have declined to prosecute on this. Now, all of a sudden, this guy brings it back under heat from the Democrats. And let's think about this in reverse. Democrats want to run against Donald Trump, right?
Sure.
Because they think, as you just said, that they could beat him. That's all about Donald Trump. They'll raise more money. CNN will get better ratings. The liberals' hair will be on fire at total time. They'll bring out all the kooks, and they'll somehow win with old Joe Biden. Joe Biden. They'll somehow win. So maybe in reverse psychology, they're trying to make him more popular with the general population. But I would think that is a horrible game to play. Rather, I just think they're so scared of him. They're so scared of him that they want to do him in. Look, they searched his house for classified records. The FBI came down and executed a search warrant on a former president's house. And guess who had highly classified documents in his garage next to his Corvette?
Sleepy Joe.
Indeed, Joe Biden. But did he get a search
Sleepy
warrant?
Joe.
Bill, you would have a absolute field day cross-referencing Michael Cohen.
Cross-examine? Oh, yeah, buddy.
I mean, you just sat here
All day
and
long.
it laid it out very calmly in a minute and a half. The statute of limitations has expired.
Yeah.
It's over with. It's done.
This is a political prosecution. I mean, if I'm the criminal defense attorney and Donald, I'm available if you do get arrested, and I'll get local counsel in New York and we'll
Maybe
do
if
this.
he heard you do a little bit of a imitation of his impersonation of himself, maybe that would help him.
Why would he hire me if I
Impersonate Donald Trump. Screw you, Michael Cohen. We're very weak people.
But he's probably going to get indicted because the grand jury is going to probably say, well, there's enough there to try this.
Oh,
He's
well,
probably
there's
going to get
some there
indicted today or tomorrow.
And, I hope all Republicans, I don't think we need to protest or light anything on fire or turn over a truck. I think we have to, with our minds, consider what this is. This is a politicization of the judicial process. It's a political prosecution. There is no doubt. I mean, this is the weakest case I've ever seen. And it's based on what could be impermissible prosecution because of the expiration of the statute of limitations. Statute of limitations mean the time in which you bring the charge from the time of the crime.
Let it happen.
It is expired at the 2-year and the 5-year. So this is a nullity to begin with, but the grand jury is not told this. And then you're basing it on a porn star and Michael Cohen who went to jail for perjury. In my opinion, I think that's what he went for and has a credibility problem. So, I mean, I don't know a prosecutor in the Commonwealth of Virginia who would look at that case and go, oh, yeah, I'm bringing it. Unless they were one of those George Soros prosecutors that got elected that don't believe in prosecuting people who commit violent misdemeanors or violent felonies against other people. But, oh, hell yeah, these criminal justice reform prosecutors want to bring something against Donald Trump because he paid $130,000 to somebody to settle a potential civil dispute to repair or to maintain his reputation. Give me a break.
Because this is taking place in New York, right?
That's right. Yeah, where New York, the no bail,
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
what
have
I'm
to
saying.
pay bail. You
All
get
the
released.
issues New York has, and this is where they want to focus their time and resources. And they're also trying to claim that although it may not have violated federal election guidelines, that it violated the state of New York it violated the state of New York election laws. So that's what's giving them jurisdiction over this.
Gentlemen, I just pulled up this thing and I think it's fascinating. A poll that just came out. And this poll shows that a large number of Americans believe that the legal system is being politicized to hold both state and federal government actions against somebody that they don't like. And that is now throwing state and federal government in suspicion in the minds of the people of the United States. 1/5, this is unbelievable. 1/5 of Americans now view the government as the greatest threat facing our nation. 20%. 1/5. That's a lot of Americans, and 300 million Americans, that's a lot. That's 60, 70 million people think that the greatest threat to our nation is our own government. Now listen to this stat. This is the shocking part. 53% in this poll agreed with the statement that the FBI acts like, quote unquote, Biden's Gestapo. 53%. Those are not all Republicans or Trump supporters or mega MAGA people, as
Right.
Biden likes to say. I mean, what we're talking about is this growing distrust of government that's supposed to protect our freedoms, not take them away from us without right or cause. We're losing, when you lose the faith of the people, you lose the government. And that may prevent government control over the people like it wants, but those are shocking numbers. And that number, 20%, 1/5 of Americans now view the government as the greatest threat to our nation. That's a greater threat than China or Russia or the plague.
But Senator, that's what
disturbing.
happens when you politicize and weaponize the Justice Department to go after political people that you disagree with. It's just like in South Hill, we got threatened at our meeting last month by a citizen to try to have 5 of us removed from office because they didn't agree with a vote that it wasn't even a vote taken. They just didn't agree with the town manager resigning. They want to have us removed from office. This is what happens when you weaponize the politics, whether it's on the local, state, or federal level.
Yeah.
This is what you get. And I agree
And
with
it get
Hermie.
worse
It's
and
just an embarrassment, and it's really ludicrous.
It'll get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until the people stand up and say, I've had enough. And so until we do that, we're going to see this degrading of the trust of government. I mean, it's always good not to trust government. You should have a healthy distrust a little bit. Keep them accountable, keep them on the toes.
Keep them honest.
But quite frankly, when it starts to bleed over into the Commonwealth of Virginia, like we were talking about in Hermie's case, where people in power manipulate those not in power or try to dictate the outcomes, it's amazing where we've come to as a free nation,
And Senator,
and realizing we're not free anymore.
Hey, it's the same thing with the skill game lawsuit, that overreach, that hunger for control, that hunger for power. It's the little man, we're going to keep you little, and the big man's just going to keep getting taller and fatter and stronger and richer and more powerful. Same deal, different issue, but it's the same result.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Same method to get there.
I'm curious, because I've been, of course, watching this thing with Trump unfold, and he's such a lightning rod, for people on both sides. But I've been hearing more and more people call for Ron DeSantis, who's the governor of Florida, who everybody assumes will be probably Trump's biggest challenge in the Republican Party as far as the nomination. But DeSantis has been basically keeping quiet or somewhat quiet on what's going on with Trump as it relates to this potential indictment and all that. But I heard he made, I think yesterday or maybe early this morning, he made his first kind of somewhat comments about it, and kind of speaking out. But it's kind of funny that all these people that sit on the sidelines, media people, experts, whatever you want to call them, are now trying to tell DeSantis how he needs to. They're basically saying, because Trump he's going after DeSantis every time he gets a chance to talk to him. He always picks who he views as his biggest rival and tries to chop him down at every opportunity. DeSantis has been kind of hands off, and now everybody's telling DeSantis, hey, if you don't start fighting back against Trump, you're not going to have. He's going to chew you up and spit you out. I'm just curious if y'all had thoughts on.
Well, I think DeSantis needs to. I don't necessarily know if it's defending Trump or not, but I think he needs to defend what's right, to put his own self in the right light on this. If you've got your differences against Trump, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you still got to voice your opinion on what's right. You know, this is a white collar crime that the statute of limitations has expired. It's clearly political motivated. And I think DeSantis needs to speak out against that. I think every Democrat needs to speak out against it.
Well,
that's not going to happen.
Well, whoever's in power, the other one's going to have to be looking and watching their 6 o'clock, because if you can do it one way, you can do it both ways.
Hey, this isn't going to stop.
Yeah.
This is every governor right now should be concerned that this could happen to them.
Look, I like Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump because he pisses off the Democrats and drives them nuts. I like Ron DeSantis. Again, I mean, does this potential arrest of the former president elevate him? I think so. I definitely think so. Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, said he didn't think so. I think so. Because again, it's when you look around us, the majority of the people that we may walk by they don't trust the government. And this is just more proof of why that your conspiracy theory uncle who came to the Thanksgiving table 3 years ago and was spouting some conspiracies that have all turned out to be true.
See, I told you.
Yeah.
That's all they can say.
And so there's been a lot of eye-opening, I think, for the general public on COVID, on a lot of the lies that they're telling us about what they're teaching our kids and in public school. And I think people are waking up, and that's a good thing, not a good thing from the government, but you can be awake and not do anything, and you don't have to be woke. You can awaken the slumbering giant, but unless the giant acts to stand up using the power of the ballot box, standing up against government who's turning the judicial system into a political football or weapon. Until we do that, then the bear will continue to eat what's in your kitchen until you kick it out the front door. And until you have that turnover, we're going to see this corruption that we're seeing in Washington, D.C. flow across the Potomac River, move south into Richmond. And we're seeing a little bit of that right now with you, Herm.
Yeah, and as it relates to Trump, he was entertaining, but I never quite understood really, I guess getting back to what the kind of the talk is with DeSantis, I never really understood why Trump was so quick to fire back at people and counterpunch, I guess is the right word. Yeah. And I never, this talk of the swamp all the time and all this, that, and the other. But as I have gotten further into the process and this journey that I'm on, I certainly understand where
makes more sense, doesn't it?
If you're not willing to fight,
yeah,
people will, as I just said before, try to chew you up and spit you out.
And I bet, and when I say this, you agree with me. God bless Donald Trump for fighting.
Yeah,
I think he's brought a lot of this to a head. And I think the curtain has been ripped back on a lot of things, and our eyes are open. Now it's whether we act. And our founding fathers said to act. Now, I've said it again. Vigilance is the eternal price of liberty. Thomas Jefferson said it. That means not accepting what the government tells you as true and not allowing the government to run your life or take away your liberty.
You would think by now they would realize, as it relates to Donald Trump, that they're not going to scare him off.
No.
And Angie made this comment to me. We were going to Naomi's ball game over the weekend, and she made the comments like, she's probably a lot of this stuff is going on because they want to run you off. They want you out of the picture. But the more that you see these kinds of things, I mean, I'm sitting here, as I said before, I put my life, my business, my family, everything kind of on hold because I've had this call to serve the people of this district and really think that I could be helpful to the district and the people in it. And it's like I'm fighting people that I just never dreamed I'd have to fight.
Part of what you're going to have.
Against my own people. Oh, hey, Hailey.
Hi, Miss Hailey.
Hey, come here. Hailey has walked into Faux Show as we're recording.
That's why we're doing live.
What's going on over here?
We're doing the podcast.
Are you staying long?
We probably got another hour.
You staying long all day?
Who's this?
Mr. Bill again.
Again. I say that a lot myself.
Say hi.
Hey.
This is
Hi.
Shep.
Hey, Hailey.
Hey, what should I do now?
Well, we got about another hour left on the podcast, and then I can. Where do you need to go?
Well, I'm going back to the old company till you're done because
Who's taking you?
Samantha.
Where's Samantha now?
She's at UPS.
She is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll come pick you up at the old company around 5 o'clock.
So what time is it?
3:30.
So you'll come get you at 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye, Miss Hailey. Who said we don't have special guests here on the podcast
Telling
here?
you.
Leaning right and turning left with Sadler in the center. Just had one of our favorite guests,
This
Miss
is
Hailey.
not grammatically correct, but she's the most specialist guest.
She is the most specialist guest. I'm just going through some of these, and we ought to look at these elections coming up, and we need to handicap them. Probably have a sheet to see who's running and see who we like and don't like, or think we can win or not win. But I'm just looking at. We were talking earlier about the open seats and the incumbencies and the seats that are held with redistricting in the House of Delegates, and this is why what we're talking about, even with Brewer's old House district, why it's so important. In this new redistricting, there are 37 Republican incumbents fighting in these seats, 32 Democrat incumbents fighting in 32 seats. There's no incumbency of both fighting in either. That is, no Democrat fighting a Republican who are both incumbents fighting in a new district. But there are 31 open seats, including the one that was abandoned so that someone could run in the 17th. 31 open seats. That is going to cost an enormous amount of money. Enormous. And I don't think we're even realizing what's in front of us. And maybe we do, and I'm just not looking at it. But of those seats, 68 seats appear to be in the House of Delegates of the new redistricting uncontested. 32 will be contested by major parties. That's an amazing number right there. That's going to be a lot of outside money coming into Virginia to determine the fates.
Senator, let me bring this up.
4 years.
I sent this to you about a month ago, and we hadn't really discussed it. But this is down in Chesapeake, which is not in the 17th district. But I only bring this up to show.
We got a very small piece of Chesapeake in the 17th district.
So this could be in your district then. On the Williams Primary School in Chesapeake, they have voted to allow a after-school Satan club to have meetings there at school.
A Satan club. See, that's just being provocative. That's what they're doing.
After-school Satan club.
Now that was we had that in Bedford County. They had a movie. They were showing a Disney movie, the Satan Club, and everybody protested that. That is ridiculous.
But Hermie, that's some of the stuff you're going to be up against with these left-wing Democrats.
Well, I'm up against the Republicans right now.
Well, right now, but I'm you're right, but I'm predicting hopefully you're going to get past that at some point.
They're certainly,
and then you got to fight this.
Certainly trying to prepare me for battle. That's for sure.
Yeah, you'll be battle tested by the time the election gets here.
I'm trying to see if we could figure this out on the general elections, and certainly they have the House up and not the Senate. The Senate's something we need to look at because that's really what it's going to come down to, and that's why the 17th district is going to be so important. How can we make sure that we get a majority to stop the Satan clubs in Chesapeake? Because I think that's stuff that no kid should let the child be directed when it comes to faith and family values by this is a new one, the family, mom and dad,
but Bill,
grandparents.
This is
not
where
some Satan club that
you've got
wants to have
a former attorney general calling your phone right
He's
now.
blowing up my phone on a case that we have.
But
That's
Senator,
right, Tony
this
Troy, who we love
is
very
where
much.
the Republicans are spending time, money, effort, and resources on the shenanigans in the 17th instead of trying to energize people to vote. The way you're ultimately going to change it is winning the vote, not fighting with each other.
I can't agree more, but we're not there, at least in this seat.
I got an idea.
What's that?
Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
I need to go get me a drink of water.
Okay.
Shep needs to clear his throat.
Yep.
You need to answer your phone and
like
talk
Brenda
to
McCarr.
your former attorney general. And what do we got coming back? What are we going to do when we come back?
What do you feel like doing? I mean, we've got another probably a half-hour segment to go.
Yeah, need to talk a little bit about races. We got some modified races coming
Let's
up.
talk about racing when we come back. Let's talk about NASCAR. Let's talk about what we see happening in the future, and then we'll end it on that. And that should be that. What do you think, Shep?
I'm ready to go.
I mean, do you have to go to Myrtle Beach? We need to end so you can go? Hey, guess what? I got some Manscaped equipment for you that I had in the back of my car, but you ran out to Myrtle Beach.
The Platinum 4.0?
Yes, for the beard.
The soul patch.
And so I'm going to get you that on the break. And we always appreciate Manscaped, manscaped.com. Enter promo code Sadler, Sadler at checkout. Receive free shipping anywhere in the world.
20% off and free shipping.
That's right. 20%
Is it
off in the whole world.
SADLAH or LER?
Sadler, Sadler, promo code Sadler. And we want to thank everybody who listens to this podcast, and certainly if you give our sponsors a listen, especially Conrad.
Yeah, this isn't
important
the
one.
actual end of the show. This is just going to break.
No, I know this is.
Okay.
All right, so we'll be right back with another segment. But thanks for listening. This is Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator and Shep Moss.
Hi, folks. This is Hermie Sadler. Thanks for listening to our all-new podcast, Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I hope you are enjoying the show as much as Senator Stanley and I enjoy bringing it to you. Whether you're a family traveling together or a truck driver hauling freight up and down the highway, I hope you will take the time to visit one of our Sadler Travel Plaza locations in Virginia and North Carolina. Sadler Travel Plaza locations are licensed dealer locations for Pilot Travel Centers, and we also carry Shell Motiva petroleum products for our four-wheel friends. We pride ourselves on providing one-stop shopping for service, food, and entertainment. Our food options include Five Guys Burgers and Fries, Quiznos, Dairy Queen, Hermie Sadler's Faux Show Bar and Grill, Victory Lane Restaurant, Hunt Brothers Pizza, Dunkin' Donuts, and much, much more. Our locations include Sadler Travel Plaza in South Hill, located off I-85 at exit 12. The Sadler Travel Plaza of Emporia, which is conveniently located on exit 11B off I-95, and Sadler Travel Plaza on Highway 58 in Suffolk. We also have our North Carolina location, Sadler Travel Plaza in Dunn, North Carolina, that's exit 75 off I-95. We appreciate all of our customers, and Bill and I appreciate you listening to Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace-O-Matic.
Hey, this is Bill Stanley, Hermie Sadler's sidekick on this podcast. When I'm not in Richmond at the Capitol or doing this podcast, my real job for the past 27 years is as a trial attorney with the Stanley Law Group. Here at the Stanley Law Group, we represent our clients in every courthouse in the Commonwealth. No problem is too small for us to solve. No case is too big for us to win. Whether it's criminal charges, traffic offenses, civil disputes, litigation matters of any sort, we handle it all. We make sure that we treat every client like family because they are to us. Your problem is our problem. Your success is our success because we hate to lose more than we love to win. And believe me, we win a lot. Don't believe me? Go ask Hermie. I'm his favorite lawyer, and he hates lawyers. So give us a call at 540-721-6028 and let us help you. Or visit our website at www.vastanleylawgroup.com. That's www.vastanleylawgroup.com. At the Stanley Law Group, we'll make sure we're the lawyers that you swear by and not at. And we're back. This is Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I'm Senator Bill again, according to Hailey.
Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill again. And you are
Hermie Sadler, what's left of him. And you are
the swear bear. Shep Moss.
Y'all just enjoy that so much, don't you? I'm glad I can put a smile on your face.
Mr. Hilarity with the vulgarity, Shep Moss, who actually did stay. He did not cut out like he did last week to go to the beach and not see the beach.
Yeah.
Oh, there's still time? Okay. Well, and you know, yeah, Shep and I were just talking in the break, and you know, this, we've been serious, and a lot of what we do here on the podcast is we try to be funny, or we're funny with each other, and we make each other laugh, and these are very serious topics, and I think those people that are listening that maybe don't have experience in Virginia politics, hopefully they're getting an education, because this is certainly an education. But these are very serious. These are very serious matters that I think we need to make sure that we're shedding light on. Bring transparency is one of your favorite words too. And you know, we want people to get active. I know Shep has on this podcast a number of times said to the good people of the 17th Senate District, good people of Virginia, work hard to make it stop, get active. And I think that's all what we have to do. We need more people in the Senate and the House of Delegates that are citizen legislators that care about the people they represent, not the power that they hold, not the title that they're given, and not the money they get from those special interests that try to get them to consider their way when it comes to votes. And so Hopefully this is helpful to everybody understanding the process that's going on. It's a weird and different thing you're going through, Hermie.
So surprised and a little concerned about how few people really keep up with and understand everything that's going on. And that could be not only with what I'm going through at the state Senate level, what you're dealing with at the local level in South Hill and towns like that. I mean, what
I deal right there on the floor of the Senate and the House of
I go in people's houses and go meet with business owners. I met with 4 or 5 different small business owners in Smithfield and Windsor last Thursday and Friday. And I start talking to them about this, I'm not even sure if you call it disagreement or argument over the nomination process and some of the things that are going on. And they just like look at me like, are you kidding me?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? And I'm like, y'all, and we said this, 100 times? It's no surprise why some people have just thrown their hands up and say, forget it. I'm not getting involved in the process. So it's very frustrating and disappointing, especially at a time when we need to be united the most.
Well, I think we've done a good job and we're going to continue to do it. We are ringing the bell. We're sounding the alarm.
Yeah.
It's now or never. We have got to unite as a Commonwealth. We have got to take control back of the House and the Senate. And we have got to do everything we can to save this great Commonwealth. We've got to do it.
Totally agree. And, I get hundreds of emails and texts from people who do listen to this podcast, and it's overwhelming, and I'm really grateful. But they're like, are you kidding me? Is this really going on? And to the same vein that you were just talking about, that people don't know what's going on, because in America, we like to be left alone. Mm-hmm. We don't need handouts. Most of us, occasionally might need a hand up, but we like to do it on our own. And we like, that's why we had the isolationist policies before World War II. With the world, because, we're surrounded by Canada and Mexico. So those are not exactly threats, except Mexico is now a threat with fentanyl and illegal alien immigration. But otherwise, we've got 2 oceans between us. And so we like to be left alone from the government. And as long as it's not affecting our lives, then we'll let the government do what it wants to do. And the government knows that and takes advantage of that, because suddenly it's crept up on you and suddenly you have less freedom and there's not much you can do about it. And so that's why in getting active, and we talk about this, we've talked about it before, we'll talk about it again. You got to get active, man. Now's the time to care. And now the time's not to just want to be left alone. You got to be involved.
You know what it's also time for? It's time for some Sadler Stanley racing to get back on track.
Let's talk about some Sadler
for
Stanley
this modified tour. We got a couple of big weekends coming up. Mother Nature has been winning the last couple weeks, but we go back on the track this coming weekend, race at Caraway. Saturday night, we've got Jonathan Cash in the 39 and Bobby Labonte in the 18 VA.
Ryan Newman's not running.
Not because of the schedule change.
Okay. He was going to run Caraway.
He was going to run Caraway
before it was rescheduled.
Right. But Mother Nature is intervened. And so Jonathan Cash and Bobby Labonte tested Caraway last week. And then the following weekend is a huge weekend for all of us, because on Friday night, we put Bobby Labonte and Ryan Newman back on track at Richmond Raceway for the Wheeling Modified Tour race on Friday night at Richmond. You've got a big event going on, a fundraiser happening at the track. And then Saturday, that's March 31st. And then April the 1st, on Saturday, the Smart Tour returns to the famed South Boston Speedway in South Boston, Virginia. But I want to remind everybody for the first time, and we'll talk about it again on next week's podcast, on Thursday night, March 30th, prior to or on the way to Richmond for the Wheeling race, the Sadler Stanley Racing Pace-O-Matic hauler that carries both of our modifieds will be, we're doing an appearance in South Boston.
The cars will be inside them, right?
The cars will be there. It's a place called Jean's Orange Market. It's in South Boston, and that will be from 3 to 5 p.m. on Thursday, March 30th.
Is that where you get all your oranges?
That's where I get all my oranges.
Jean's Orange Market.
Jean's Orange Market.
Beautiful downtown South Boston, Virginia.
In South Boston. We'll give out more details and address and things of that nature next week. But that's Thursday, March the 30th from 3 to 5 p.m. And I will be there along with Jonathan Cash. And we may even have another special guest as well. We don't know just yet. But I know Jonathan
Shep Moss?
Cash and I will be there. And the Sadler Stanley Racing Hauler will be there with our modifieds in them, heading to Richmond for the race on Friday night, and then back to South Boston for the race on Saturday. So that's a big weekend of racing for Sadler Stanley Racing. The next 2 weeks, actually, because, we've got Bobby Lamani and Jonathan Cash coming up at Caraway this Saturday night, and then the 30th, 31st, and April 1st, 3 big nights related to Sadler Stanley Racing and Pace-O-Matic.
So how early can you get up to Richmond on the 30th? So maybe we can tape our podcast from there, maybe get some good interviews. Is that possible? Because Shep can't make South Boston on the 31st, can you?
On the first.
The 31st is Richmond.
I'm sorry. The 31st. I'm wrong again.
I'll be at Richmond all day on the 31st.
Okay. Can we sneak in the podcast
Oh,
equipment?
sure. Yeah.
Okay. I may need your hard card to do that.
Yeah.
Might
And
need
then-
you. Do you need the limo that day? Give people to, I don't know.
The golf cart?
Yeah.
Your supersized golf cart with that giant
Well,
stereo?
Hermie's used it before up there during racing. So
Oh,
I don't
really?
know.
Okay.
I don't know the layout of this race, if he needs it or not.
You guys have got some allergies going on. I'm telling you right now, we're going to have to bleep out some coughs here.
You know what the common denominator is?
What?
Might be you.
Oh, really? You're allergic
Yeah,
to me?
could
I'm
be.
sorry, Shep. Well, the doctor would order you stay away from me then if that's the case. I'm sorry. But I've never heard you guys cough like this. Usually it's me. But it's going to be an important race. It's a fun weekend. I'm bringing the RV up there. Yeah, I've got a fundraiser. If people want to go, they can get tickets through Richmond International Raceway. If they want to contact us, they can do so on our Facebook page, which is Leaning Right and Turning Left Podcast. Just find that on Facebook, like us, and then give us a contact. Leave us an instant message. We'll get right back to you. It should be a lot of
My
fun.
wife is walking in and she is smiling.
And
Oh, wow.
oh, it looks like Hermie got a piece of mail from Emily Brewer for Senate. Friends of Emily Brewer. There you go. Hermie M. Sadler Jr. Look at that. And they put the stamp on crooked.
You can tell that she didn't personally to do this because
That's
I would
unfortunate.
not be getting one. I wouldn't think.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, well, you know what you always do is you send your mailers to your opponents. Let them know that you're out there.
Hey,
But let me tell you, if they're sending out mail and it's a mail fight or a sign fight, just like I said earlier in the first segment, your signs are kicking butt all the way up and down 58 and everywhere that I went in Suffolk today.
is
So,
the family coming to Richmond, Senator? to the
I'm
race?
bringing at least my youngest, Chandler. He'll be there. The wife will be there, of course. We're going to go to South Boston Speedway, a historic speedway, a wonderfully historic speedway that needs to be preserved. And then we're going to leave the RV there and drive up like we did last year to Richmond, watch the race. My campaign has a suite. We're doing a fundraiser. After that, we turn around, head back south to South Boston. We sit outside and kind of enjoy the rest of the evening and then wake up early in the next morning as the racers come in for the Saturday race. So we love it. It's a great weekend and we're looking
Well,
forward
you
to
know
it.
why I ask?
Why, you want to come?
No, be
You need
sure you
spot in the
line
RV?
up. Be sure you line up the honey wagon for the weekend.
I'm
Call
gonna-
early.
Well, it's been winterized, and let me tell you something, Hermie. And Aaron Arnold, AA from Camping World, is addicted to this podcast. Met the maintenance head, Josh. He's great too. But you're right about one thing. You have an RV. I bought it last year, and already you put it back in, and you end up spending a bunch of money on maintenance on those darn things, don't you? I mean, I remember one time you were complaining you couldn't get it back, and the number just kept going up.
The a motorhome,
Yeah.
but the less you use it, the more it costs.
More expensive it is.
So
The more stuff breaks, the more it sits.
So, I didn't have it inside, but I had it away from trees and all that stuff. But I had a cracked water heater, had a cracked sink, had the
Wait a minute. Already?
yeah.
Did you not?
I know. And then
You didn't.
the slider was off the track a little bit, so it created this hole. I saw this right when we started driving it. I don't know. I think that's under warranty. I mean, and all of a sudden, then they call you back and go, "Okay, we did the 45 point inspection that you paid for, and here's what we found." And you go, and so it is what it is. And
Did you
but
order?
we can't wait to get it back out. 'cause
Did
we
you
love it.
order the mobile honey wagon? Because they make one that you can.
Believe it or not, my wife's parents, my in-laws, I don't think donated, but are letting us use the mobile honey wagon if that need shall arise. But remember, North Wilkesboro, when we took the Class C RV, was filled with a bunch of kids. I had 3 children, my wife and me, and the people that would come to eat our food would also use our restroom. So they contributed to the crapper being full.
'Cause I don't want you to hear, hey, Billy, the show's full.
I think 2 days will probably be able to manage it, but it's always fun pumping the thing out. So I'm just gonna hold it. But so what do you think about racing right now? I mean, we haven't gotten a lot of open wheel modified racing under our belts yet. We still have more to go. Pretty excited about Jonathan Cash. Tell everybody about Jonathan Cash, our replacement for Ryan Newman. Ryan has signed up for 9-10 races,
Yeah.
but can't do them all.
Yeah.
But he's doing all the wheeling races. So long as they're still scheduled where they are.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Cash came up last year, ran for us at, was it Caraway? Hickory. And except for him getting put in the fence, he had a pretty good run. Tell us who Jonathan Cash is.
Qualified. He practiced top 5, qualified top 5, ran top 5 all night. Got run over at the end, and that's one of those nights. 5 laps to go. Both our cars looked like they were going to finish in the top 5, both of them. And then
You went bolting.
one got black flagged for a ghost jumping the restart. And then Cash got run over. So
you and I were yelling at the track control center, I believe. We were showing our displeasure. But as a race car driver, how did you get to know him? What does he do? How's he jump in our car?
yeah, he is, I would go so far as to say, a legend in the karting community. He's raced go-karts basically his whole life, but he also has a lot of experience running late model stock cars. He run late models at Orange County and South Boston and places like that. Just loves to race. When you look in the dictionary of racer, that's Jonathan Cash. I mean, he's always
How
done
old
it.
is he?
I'm just guessing there, but I'm gonna say he's early 40s.
And didn't you have a guy that used to work on your race team, John Cash?
Yeah, Johnny Cash. He was a fabricator.
All right. Was he any relation to Jonathan Cash? Okay.
No, two different. Johnny Cash is a fabricator. When I used to drive for Don Beverly in the Virginia's for Lovers car, that came to
25.
work for me for a couple of years when I had a DeWalt car, housed at Chesterfield Airport for several years. But Jonathan, grew up racing stock cars and go karts, and now his business is P&P Speed Shop in Oxford, North Carolina. He builds karting engines. He's a distributor for Premier Racing Chassis, my line of karts, and he builds engines. And he's one of the best tire gurus as far as for dirt track oval racing in karting around. So this is kind of a deal where he's been really helpful to me in the growth of Premier Racing Chassis, because he's a well-respected karting. Has a well-respected karting business, and when he came on board to Premier, it really helped our brand kind of take that next step, because when he put all of his people that he does work for on Premier, that really helped us grow our brand. And so but he's a very accomplished late model stock car racer, and he's won some races at Orange County and other places over the years. And this was I told you from the beginning when we started putting all these things together, that I would like to, when we could, use this open wheel modified program as a way to give back, or to give people in karting an opportunity to step up and race against a Bobby Labonte or Ryan Newman and all these people. And so it worked out perfectly to give Jonathan these opportunities to run, and he'll run a couple of these races that Ryan cannot run. And if he does well, he'll do more. It just depends on how well he does. But it's a great opportunity for Jonathan.
He's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's been rewarding for me to give people like him the opportunity, who I think in racing terms has earned the opportunity. And he's one of these guys that has always done everything on his own.
Sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, not to kiss your ass like Shep always does, but I noticed in your businesses, whether it's racing, karting, restaurants, or anything, you're always looking to give someone a hand up.
That's
an
the way it's supposed
opportunity.
to work.
And I hope that the Republican Party understands that and gives you the opportunity.
You know what
the same
that's
way.
called, Billy Boy?
What?
Leadership.
That is
And
leadership.
this is a great leader,
This
right?
is this is a
See
great
what I told you? Kisses your ass just seamlessly. It's
Great
beautiful.
opportunity.
It's really just a thing to behold and wonder. I mean, can you ever do that for me?
Oh, you're a little jealous now.
No, I'm just like, could you ever kiss my ass a little bit in public? It'd be great. I mean, give it a shot.
Well, while
Say
y'all are
something
having
nice
this
about me.
Vince
Not with
McMahon
that,
kiss
not
my
with
ass
that damn
club.
hairstyle you got. Did you see him a minute ago? He just rocked back.
It's soothing.
Rubbed his fingers.
It's like
through
having a
his
blue
hair.
blanket on your head. All right.
Oh,
You touch your hair and you know you still got it and you're okay. It doesn't have no gel in it. So let's finish out this conversation because I know that Miss Hailey wants to go home.
Yep.
She's tired of seeing Mr. Bill again.
Again. What's going on over here?
Yeah. What do you see in NASCAR? I mean, we talked a little bit about NASCAR in the first 4 weeks. Atlanta came up. I enjoyed the crap out of the Xfinity race. I mean, first 20 laps were a lot of cautions and stuff, but it really was a good race right until the end. A lot more passing than I saw in the next gen Nextel Cup car. What were your thoughts on?
I did not
Atlanta.
watch the Xfinity race. Or
All
the
right,
truck
so
race.
thanks for joining us. Leading right.
I did.
I'll talk to you a little later.
Right.
Okay.
I did watch the Cup Series race on Sunday.
Yeah. See, and now I didn't watch that because I was driving.
Logano, took the win on the last lap, passed Brad Keselowski on the last lap. I saw a lot of people complaining about the race, but I enjoyed the race. I didn't watch every lap of it, but I was working some and watching, and then I did sit down and watch the last, say, 30 laps of the race at Atlanta, and I enjoyed it. Joey Logano is, I mean, not just now, but I mean, he's already a champion, but he is really coming to his own.
32 Cup wins,
recent-
2 championships.
I'm just
and he's in
telling
his
you,
early 30s.
I would have to say, and I wouldn't, I'm not saying he's my favorite person or anything like that, but if I were to start a Cup Series team right now, he'd be the top of my list of people to pick to drive the car because he has really come into his own as far as talent, and he knows how to win on a variety of different types of racetracks. It took him a while. He came up through the ranks when he first came to work for Joe Gibbs, and they used to call him sliced bread.
Yeah.
He was going to be
white
the
bread.
next.
Yes.
He was going to be the next everything, and he struggled a little bit getting going. And so,
Why did Gibbs let him go?
I don't know, but I was great timing for Roger Penske.
Yeah.
To pick him up after he had already been through the struggles and things that he had with Gibbs, and so he learned and matured, and so when Penske got him, it was a good catch for him, and he is really, consistently one of the guys to beat at a relatively young. So much experience at such still a young age is why he's so good right now.
Yeah. I mean, did you watch the race at all?
I
Shep?
did not.
See,
No.
Shep, this is a
I was
racing-
driving back from
part
my
of this is
vacation.
a racing show. No MRN radio. Didn't listen to it on the radio. So I saw the replays. Let me ask you this question, Herm, because you are a former Fox Sports analyst. When Ross Chastain got up on the bumper of Harvick there, did he do it on purpose or was that just racing? He knocks him out of the way.
No, I think he was trying to push him. I think he was trying to give him a push to get.
Looked like you rubbed his bumper from the right side to the left side of the back bumper and then spun him out, making him lose.
I'm not
losing grip back there.
You asked me what my opinion was.
Yeah, okay.
My opinion was that he was trying to push him to get out front and get away, and
Not a Ross
Get away.
Chastain move. Getting him out of the way, just wrecking him.
I don't know why you want to wreck somebody right in front of the field and
That
potentially
was
wreck
a-
yourself.
that
Take
was a big
yourself
wreck.
out with
Right,
it.
take yourself. So,
Okay.
did he make a mistake? Probably.
Yeah.
But I do not think for a second it was intentional.
Okay. Well, I got to tell you, I'm learning to like Joey Logano. My son, Chandler, youngest, before he could even say his full name, used to call him Gano. That was his favorite race car driver when he was a little tiny little boy. And when we were in Martinsville and I was invited to the drivers meeting, one of the representatives of AEP in the chamber down there, they went to Joey Logano and said, that little boy, sitting with me is your biggest fan. And he was wearing his hat and he came over and talked to my son, signed the hat, was as gracious as could be and as nice as could be. And now he has, just like me, a nice head of hair. Do you notice all of a sudden he's grown a lot of hair? That's impressive.
He's cultivated.
Shep, maybe you could do that. I mean, have you seen his hair? It's impressive.
He doesn't even know who Joey Logano is. So his race at North Wilkesboro last year was probably the first race he's been to in 30 years.
Is that right? When's the last race you were at besides Wilkesboro?
Well,
He did come to Richmond. to
Hermie's
drive me
last race. I was at Hermie's last race
When was that?
in Richmond 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
at least. Because I'm a whole lot
Yeah.
fatter and grayer since then.
I was at that race. I
So
had
is-
the honor of being a guest
so is-
at that race.
So is racing not
were
like
you
a
there
sport?
that night? I don't
No,
think
I
you
was
were
not there.
I
Not
don't
at all.
remember seeing you.
Nope.
on
You
the
can
guest list.
guarantee I was not on the guest list.
That was the last race I went.
I was parking cars outside. So what's your sport then? I mean, when we think that you're not drinking or doing the bar crawl, or eating,
I enjoy watching golf.
Okay. But golf is napping. You know what I mean? I usually watch golf if I want
Do
to
you
take a
enjoy
nap.
playing golf? You ever play golf with the senator?
I have played. Ooh, you can pick up some bad habits there. Trust me.
He'd always have to turn his head when I was getting ready to swing. I don't know why. But so you like
Playing
watching
golf with Shep, Senator, you know this, but the music is somewhat loud and
He didn't like
outdated,
it.
diverse.
didn't-
Dated.
Dated.
in his big limo golf cart.
Sometimes he'll bring a gallon or two of Fireball.
Indeed, which makes it all better. Yeah. So sports just don't get you.
Not like I'm going to sit down on Sunday afternoon and watch 500 laps of racing. No, it doesn't
Oh,
get
man.
me.
Hmm.
It's not for me.
Plug more. Does he like racing? Or the Big Swede? When we're interviewing
Moore
for
does.
replacements here?
Last time I took Plug Moore to the Coca-Cola 600, it was probably 1990. And, 600-mile race at a mile-and-a-half racetrack, 400 laps. Plug Moore was, back in those days, probably the biggest Bill Elliott fan alive. So I'm guessing, and I saw him do it, I'm going to say he gave Dale Earnhardt the finger 400 times when he came back.
I believe that too.
And Plug, we didn't have the best of seats. So it's kind of like a last-minute trip. We just go. So we sat down like on row 4 where you get hit with all the chicken bones. Yeah. But especially under caution, Plug went down and stood right up next to the fence under the flag stand. And every time Dale came by, Plug shot him the bird. I said, Plug, Dale cannot see you doing that. Plug said, yeah, but I can.
Well, we're going to end it there on a Plug Moore story right there.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for another edition. Our 58th.
What about
edition.
Manscaped? We'll have to do a Manscaped spot.
If we do, we're gonna put in the Manscaped recording that our man Shep Moss, or as we like to say, Shep Moss, did last couple weeks ago, and we'll put that in there. I think this might be our week, but I haven't gotten the script because we're a little early. But Shep's going to get his equipment tried out, and then next show, which I love doing it in person. I think it's a lot better than when we do it online. We're going to see how that razor did on that soul patch you got. All right.
So we're planning on taping the next one maybe at Richmond? Or
No, I think we're going to do one probably Monday or Tuesday, and then we'll tape at Richmond on Friday.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
And we'll
great.
double up.
Yeah.
And that way we get it all done. And then we may pick it up if you come to South Boston on Saturday. Maybe try to get some interviews there as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we can think about talking about at this point in time, but we want to thank you for listening. Hopefully we've informed you, made you laugh, or at least one of the two.
And if you get a chance, check out www.sadler4virginia.com.
Absolutely. Or you can check out www.sadlerstanleyracing.com to keep up on all these podcasts and our racing news. Shep, you got a website you want to plug? Party Time USA, whatever?
No.
All right. And this Saturday, you're going to do a wedding. You're going to be playing, spinning
Yes.
stacks of wax.
Yes, I've got a couple getting married that wants bluegrass and newgrass. So that will be.
Well, I don't know.
That's going to be a little.
I thought I
different
knew what
challenge
bluegrass
for me.
means, but after being in the legislature, I don't know what newgrass means. That could be something totally different.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
going to be a little challenge.
All right. Well, we all have a busy
You
week.
thought my music was diverse at the golf tournament. Wait till this.
I can't
wait
wait.
till this.
You might have to tape a little bit for us and
Oh,
share next time when we meet. And until we meet again, make sure that you tell your friends about turning left. No, wait, leaning right and turning left with Sadler and the Senator. We're on all the major platforms. We appreciate your listening to us, and we'll see you next week. Send us out, Hermie. I'm Virginia State Senator Mr. Bill Stanley again.
Again.
And I'm leaning right.
And I'll talk to you again later. How about that? We'll see you next week.
God bless you all.
All right, by now, guys, you know I love talking about old wrestling. What you might not know is it's not my real passion. My real passion is helping people save money. My real passion is getting families out of apartments and into houses. My real passion is getting people's finances aligned so they can retire on time. I hated going to Walmart and seeing the greeter being 80 years old. She should not be working. She should be home. Why is she still working? Because she still has a mortgage. I want to help avoid that for you. The other thing I want to help you with, let's make sure your kids don't get saddled with student loans. If you've got a student loan, why did you get one? Maybe because your parents still had a mortgage. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm being sincere. There's only so much money to go around. What I want to help you do is figure out where you are right now and where you want to be long term. And I do it at savewithconrad.com. I've been doing mortgages for more than 20 years. And during all that time, we've helped tens of thousands of families change their life. I mean, routinely, we're helping our podcast listeners save $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. But more importantly, get them out of debt faster and with cheaper monthly payments. But if you don't think it can happen for you, let me just tell you this. We are not the bank. We don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. We're going to get you a game plan on how to improve your credit, how to save a little bit of cash, and how to get into that dream house. Maybe you're already in the house, but it would be nice if someday we could put a pool in the back, or one day we want to upgrade to hardwood floors, or remodel the kitchen, or get a badass master bathroom. I can help you do all of that with no money out of pocket right now at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. Check it out, savewithconrad.com, NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. And hey, y'all, don't take my word for it. Check us out. We've got an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. And as if that's not enough, go look at our reviews. Read them and weep, haters. ConradReviews.com. You'll see more than 1,000 5-star reviews. Our average review is 4.72 stars. Find out how much money you can save. Take control of your life in 2023. By taking control of your finances, we're going to show you how to keep more of your own money. If you've got credit card debt, what are you paying on that? 14%? 28%? You know you can do better. With the mortgage, though, you may not know this, the interest you pay is tax deductible. And we can even show you how to skip your next 2 house payments. So if you could get a lower monthly payment, pay your debt off faster, get a greater tax deduction at the end of the year, and right now, right after the holidays, skip your next 2 payments, buddy, this is the biggest no-brainer in the history of the world. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com, or hey man, shoot me an email directly, Conrad@savewithconrad.com.